his highlights. So like my whole thing before I used to always say like I don't talk to anybody unless they talk to you first.
Okay.
So I'm trying to like get out of that, and I don't have a very friendly face either, even though I'm really nice. But like it doesn't show, So I gotta like the more I talk, I feel like it'll like maybe like pull itself out.
Right.
So
He's doing pretty good though. I think he's in 25
Yeah,
compared
I
to
think
one.
so.
He's doing pretty good. Definitely. I'd say a great co-host. So everybody, welcome to Flagler Weekly episode 25. We are here with Miss Tressie Paytas,
Yes.
and I have known her son Wayne for a while. We used to ride the bus together. Shout out Wayne Paytas, and
By the way, he's doing really awesome.
that's awesome. That's good to know. Dave, you have known her for a little bit.
well, a
So,
few months now, yeah.
Yeah. How did this podcast come about?
Well, there's a person that I've known forever, known my family forever, named Tony Capitola, and he OD'd like what, maybe 2 months ago or so.
I believe it was July. In
July,
the
so-
first week of July, right after the 4th of July.
Okay, and then I saw that she was posting on there like, "Oh, why didn't you reach out to me?"
I
And,
had been talking to him. We'd been talking on and off for about a year. And he was doing really good. And I had no idea. The last I'd seen, he was in jail, had been picked up for something. And I thought, oh boy. But I didn't even know he was out. And then I hear the news. Someone picked the phone up and called me.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I noticed that he hadn't been posting because he was always like, he would go live a lot on Facebook and also post like jobs that he was
he
doing.
was very talented.
Yeah, a
when
builder,
it came
yeah.
to building stuff, he was really talented.
And that's how I originally met him too, because my stepdad used to own like a framing business, and a lot of the guys used to work for my dad. A lot of the guys that aren't here anymore also. That whole like early 2000s, working class types. So that's why I originally met him from. And
There's been a lot of this in Flagler County, the fentanyl overdose.
yeah,
It's become pretty bad. It seems to me we just lost someone last week,
Yep.
someone the week before, then Tony, and then prior to that there was one a week. I can't remember all the names.
Yeah.
But there was been almost one person that you guys grew up with or know has passed, and it's the fentanyl. Someone is selling bad pills in our area.
yeah. And I noticed that like you, and it was funny too. And this caught my attention too when you posted that. You were like, "Don't buy subs off of Dave," and I was like, "Dave, I'm
not
Dave."
you.
And I was like,
What do you mean by
That was like-
subs?
We shouldn't
Oh, okay.
talk about that right
yeah, all right.
Got you. So
Things are
where?
Okay.
How would you say that your journey started with this?
well, as you know, it started with my son,
Right.
Wayne, and it snowballed. At first you're like, well, this does not happen in Flagler County. Nobody wanted to talk about it. And you were kind of like in shock at first, and you're in denial. All of us parents go through that. And there really weren't any programs. Well, it started with him, and then it snowballed, and then it was his friends, and then it was his brothers. So that's how it started. And the only intervention we had in Flagler County, and still the only intervention, is our Flagler County jail.
The Green Roof Inn.
The Green Roof Inn, yes.
That's no intervention though.
Well, they've got a lot better than what it was back when my son was in and out and in trouble all the time. They do have the SMART program. They are doing a lot more. I'm
seen
happy
that.
for the things that I see taking place over there with their job training program. Like I said, the SMART program is a recovery program. So I'm glad we're to finally see some programs happening here in Flagler County because we didn't have any. And I ended up having to take mine outside of Flagler County to get them the help that they needed. And I thank God that they, are now doing well. And like I said, it started with mine, then it went to their friends, and now their friends' friends are being referred to me. If someone needs help, I will help them. I'll get on the phone, I'll make the phone calls. I'll locate a detox center. I'll even locate programs for them. You know, if they need a ride to appointments, just call me. I'll give you a ride.
Yeah.
And I'm in the process of working on another another organization that is coming out of Jacksonville. They do medical. They do mental health, substance use. They do Hep C, HIV testing, and also treatment. So I'm kind of working with them. They can do this all over the state of Florida. So we're working. I just met up with them, and we're going to be working on trying to provide some of those services here. Okay. We're going to go, say, Jacksonville 1 week, St. Augustine, Flagler, Volusia County. So, but that's still in the works for right now.
What's up with the Stuart Marchman here in town? Is that like...
Now, they have gotten... they have brought their MAP program to Flagler County. Before, they only had it, you had to drive all the way to Daytona. They do MAP here and mental health services 2 days a week.
No, you say MAT. That's
MAT, the Medical Assistant Treatment Program.
Okay.
Now, they do that here 2 days a week, which is nice. Now, they've got the Flagler Access Center. They've just brought that to town. That, if you need some assistance, you go... schedule an appointment with the Flagler Access Center. They do their evaluation, and then they'll, set you up in which direction to go. So
now, I myself, and I've been off opiates for 9 years, almost 9.5 years now.
Wow.
And I found that, even like when you first get off, and then you get sober, having to deal with all your consequences is really can bring you back.
That's
fast.
why when I talk about healing is recovery, recovery is healing. That means you need to heal everything, the mental health. So more than likely someone suffered some form of trauma throughout their lifetime. Something has happened. People just don't go and pick up a drink or just go and pick up a drug. So you got to address those issues. That's why the mental health is also important.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with talking to somebody. A lot of times guys don't want to do that, but there's nothing wrong with talking to someone.
Let me
a
ask
health professional anyway.
Sorry. Let me ask you this question. So a lot of people in Flagler County, they say that a lot of drug use comes from there not being a lot of young activities to do. But, I've lived in South Florida and I've also lived in Orlando, and there's many things to do out there, and there's almost more drug addicts out there than there is here. Do you think that's true? Do you think the lack of just fun things for kids to do is leading to maybe drug abuse?
We have a lot of programs here. The PAL has a lot of sports and things like that. My kids were very much involved with sports and did a lot of things. Now, with this generation and everything going on with this fentanyl, after the passing of my son, Tim, who died from fentanyl poisoning, I joined an organization called Lost Voices of Fentanyl, and we're fighting to get change, close the border, keep this fentanyl off the streets. We designed a website, and it's called Become Their Voice. One of the parents did, and it's called becometheirvoice.org, and it is a memorial educational website. On there, we have educational material for young adolescents, and then we have it for adults. The youngest child that has passed from a fentanyl overdose or poisoning was 3 years old. That's on our website.
I saw something. I saw like
a 13-year-old the other day. I noticed there was a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 18-year-olds, and they're making fake lollipops. I think you saw one of my flyers.
I saw the flyer. Yeah,
fake lollipops, fake candy that's fentanyl. And education is the key, I think. talk to your kids. A lot of parents, I talk to people every day. You see me at events, and a lot of people do not know what this fentanyl is all about. So education. We gotta talk to our kids.
You know, that makes it really even
I'm
harder.
terrified. My grandson's only 7, and then I have one who's a teenager. You know, we just got to talk to him.
Yeah, and people got to know too that like it's not like it was before.
No.
Like, you know, people are going to experiment.
No.
But these days, it's like
Even if you
that one time
weed,
could be.
they're lacing weed, pot with this stuff.
And I don't even understand. Like my sister's birthday party, there was like one of the narcotic detectives there, and we were asking him like, because I had heard that they're putting even fentanyl in like cocaine and stuff like that.
They're
It's
doing
like,
it in cocaine.
It's like why? Like why even do? What is the point? You know?
I even talked to someone the other day, and they said, because everybody thought I was crazy. I said, I think that my son got a fake Suboxone. Everyone's like, that's crazy. Well, no, I was verified. If someone is buying it from the streets, and there are a lot of people, matter of fact, I have one young man that I've been trying to get into some help. He's at the Green Roof Inn now, so he's, I don't have to
Detoxing the
worry
hard way.
about him now.
For a little
But
bit.
he was buying Suboxones off the street. And I said, I think that's what my son thought he had gotten. So, if you're buying it on the streets, they're making it in a fake
Out of
form.
fentanyl, yeah. I read something, and this was like maybe even 2 years ago. They said that like it was like 60-something% of all the fentanyl or all the heroin that they confiscated was actually fentanyl, not heroin. Well, not that heroin's great, but fentanyl is worse. So it's like that's the cheapest thing to put out. And
Yeah,
like,
it's all of the drugs, especially. I know the kids that I have up in Jacksonville have told me. They said, "Mom, everything's fentanyl. The heroin, there is no heroin anymore.
Yeah.
It's all fentanyl.
yeah, that's,
So,
It's dangerous.
is it coming from Mexico or China? Do we know?
that's
From the organizations that I'm involved with, the Lost Voices of Fentanyl, they are saying it's coming from China. It's coming from China.
Through
it's
Mexico?
being made in China. So I don't even think the drug dealers know what they're getting. It's coming from China. I think this is a chemical warfare. So do the ladies from Lost Voices of Fentanyl. It's being made in China. It's going to the cartel, and then it's just crossing our border, and it's coming to every little town in the
Flowing
United
in.
States.
yep.
Nobody's safe.
Yeah.
That's a valid point that you brought up. You said that you don't even know if the drug dealers know what they're
I
getting.
don't think they do.
And so,
Because the pills look so real.
like
You
the-
can't tell.
the drug
Yeah, they
dealers don't know what they're getting, but
and they
then
get-
the customers don't know what they're getting. I always wondered, like, how do you feel about like drug dealers getting life sentences?
How do I want to talk about this? Over the years, you have had addicts that will go get drugs from the drug dealer to bring back and sell to their friends.
Like middleman it.
Middleman it, yeah. But not because they're the drug dealer. They are supporting their habit.
Exactly.
And this way they don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between,
A drug dealer and a middleman.
my son Wayne was a typical, had done things like that back in the day. Thank goodness that's over with. But I think that I think they need to. I think they need to crack down on those that are killing these kids. Yes.
On a higher.
And
also,
as far
yes.
as they probably do need to be put away.
I feel like.
But like I was saying, it all depends because
It's a rough spot because you
you've
have to have
got
enforcement.
Addicts that are getting it for their friends. So we're dealing with a bunch of addicts that need the help that they need. So that's why I'm kind of.
I agree because the
I'm
term
on the-
drug dealer is loose.
Yes.
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 Like when you think drug dealer, you think of maybe a gangster, criminal, or an organization. Then they talk about this in
It's
the
all
media.
the
Like,
same. I can give you something, a Xanax, or something that's a prescription, and we just had a.
you're a drug dealer.
I just did drugs.
Yeah, that one.
Yes.
And I think when they like arrest you for drug dealing, they assume like, yeah, we got you on one charge, but we're kind of incorporating a lot of other unknown activity.
No,
in
I
that.
don't. The fact that's, I think that they need to serve some time, but I think it needs to, like I was telling you, you got addicts getting their friends stuff.
Did you know that Joey Cologne?
I did not know him, but I know that he is responsible for Savannah's death.
Yeah, that's true. But like, he was on drugs though too for the longest. But he was also, but was he a drug dealer, or was he a drug dealer because he was on drugs? That's like the question. Because I've known him since he was a
Yeah.
kid. Also, he's a little bit younger than me.
How many? He got what? 30 years?
I think didn't he get life, or
I thought it was 30 years.
maybe. I mean, 30 is pretty much life. I feel like the cops are.
I think it was 30 years because the real drug dealer that I know was making a comment. Oh, that's all he got was 30 years. But we're not going to talk about it.
But like, with me and my thing, the board of my like trouble that I got, they said, okay, you're sick, but then I got a criminal charge, which I agree with, but I don't, because you can't just use that as an excuse
Right.
and say you can do crimes for free because you
No.
have a disease. But at the same time, when you criminalize something that you're calling a disease, and like I mentioned before, like the after the math, now I've got a
Right.
criminalized thing. Now, luckily, I had a bachelor's degree and I didn't get a felony and I got a good job, but I'm lucky. I already had that stuff done. So, but a lot of the other people that don't, like that is the hard part. And this is the criminalization. Like,
Well, there's still a lot of stigma because everybody are like, well, they shouldn't be doing drugs. They don't understand that a lot of the people that are dying now are people that are just occasional here and there, not your regular,
see, that's how I was. Like, I mean, I like smoked weed when I was a kid and this and that.
Yeah.
But like when the first like Oxycontin thing came around, I
Yes.
wasn't involved. It passed me by, thankfully. And then I got like caught up after the fact. And it was more like when the Dilaudid thing was coming around.
That's what my son was all involved with.
From that,
the
yeah.
D's, yeah.
Yep, the D's, yeah. And it's crazy too because like, and again, like, oh man, all these people are prescribing all these prescription medications. But now it's kind of too late because now they're all hooked. And then, they wired all the pharmacies together, which
Well,
they
you
should
get
have.
them, you get them hooked. Then you got to give them another medications to get them off that. So it's just like the pill mill.
Yeah.
That's was going around
But
for a while.
I feel like what's
That's
happened
what
is
that was. It was money. It was
yeah, they were making so much money off of it. Did you just watch the show that came out, the Painkiller Show?
no.
It's pretty good.
Oh, I
Yeah,
missed it.
yeah. It just came out on Netflix, like a 5-part, and it's about like how they marketed OxyContin and how Purdue like pushed it and this and that. But once they cut all that off, you got all these people who are on drugs now, and now the legal drugs, they're not legal, but the prescribed from pharmacy that people were
Right.
interacting, they're all gone. And you just don't stop using drugs. So that's when like now the surge of the fentanyl started coming in.
Yes.
And that's got to be higher up. Like, and again, like the police do what they can do, but it has to go higher up the ladder because like you said, they're not drug dealers. They are drug dealers, but they're middlemen. And it's just like a where do you get out of it at? And even beyond that, why are they on drugs?
Exactly.
That's what I like to say.
That's why you need to get to the root cause.
Exactly, the root cause.
And mental health, substance use go hand in hand. He is too cute over there.
He's like upside down.
Oh my goodness. You need to video this.
But I was going to ask another question. So I agree that there does, that, it's a sickness, and then there is also a criminality aspect of it. But there was almost like a black hole left open by the government, and where a lot of drug dealers came in. What do you think about people saying legalize it, and maybe there could be like a safe, because I've heard, like you said, like there won't be any fentanyl in it. It might just be straight cocaine, straight heroin. What are your thoughts about possibly legalizing it?
I don't know. Like I was saying, the girls from Lost Voices of Fentanyl believe that this is a chemical warfare on our military.
Military age men. Mm-hmm. That seems very feasible. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't discount also.
And there are there like Oregon. There's other states that legalize this or legalize drug use, but
it doesn't look very desirable of the video I've seen from those places. No. But it's interesting, like when you look at like Portugal, they legalized all drugs also. Mm-hmm. But I feel it's something in the American culture.
Well, I don't think China's trying to kill them.
That's a good point too. That's a good point too. Now,
or does this have something to do with a certain person's son called Hunter? And that's what I was about to say too. We can't discount government greed either, because let's be honest, we've all heard of like Rick Ross and how the CIA was selling cocaine in South Central and crack in the 90s and stuff like that. So it's not beyond them to work with cartels. You saw that I shared it. Joe Biden talking about the fentanyl killing 70,000 people and had a smirk on his face, and people were, did you see that?
I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy that it's like poetic justice. Like, you know, he wrote that crime bill and criminalized all those like ghetto people and put them in prison for 30 years and give your son a free pass.
Yeah.
And then this is the person who's running America now. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. I wasn't like say so much.
Better not say anymore. But what I wanted to talk a little bit more about, we had the overdose awareness event with Flagler County Drug Court Foundation. That was on the 31st. I think
No, I saw you after that.
Oh, that's right. You came for the first Friday.
Yeah.
So we had the first Friday, which I'm out there with them, passing out flyers and also Narcan. We've got the Ride for Recovery. They will be doing in October. It's their really big event that they do every year. So, for fundraising event. 4-wheel drives are allowed and motorcycles this year.
Okay.
So.
And you said that's going to be at the.
That's going to be. We're going to have that. It'll be at the 2K Ranch. There'll be a pig roast, axe throwing. We're going to have a fun day. Paintball. Y'all remember paintball days, don't you?
That sounds fun.
So it'll start at the Texas Roadhouse and it'll end at the 2K Ranch. And we will have vendor space if you guys or if other people want to put something, a table up with their stuff. If you're interested, you can get a hold of Mike Fellbauer, and his number is 401-864-6997.
And we'll tag this in the description of this video, and we're also going to promote that event. Also, I got your flyer already.
Oh, good.
So we'll put that out too.
It'll be fun.
Get that on there. And
I might have to, play paintball. I don't know if you guys want me throwing any axes. Last time I tried it, the boys blew up this punching bag for my grandson. And I thought, well, let me see if Grammy still has it in her. And I punched that. This shoulder bothered me for 3 weeks before I could really move it. So
from punching, axe throwing.
I don't think I'm going to be throwing any axes. So, but it'll be fun. And like I said, we had the overdose awareness. We're doing this event. There's going to be, this month is actually, it's recovery month, the whole month of September. And I think they're going to have an event down here on the 16th in the park. There will be a little music festival to celebrate that. And all over Florida, they will have events this month honoring the ones who are in recovery.
So this is the first time I'm hearing this is recovery month. And I remember when I talked to you last month and you said it was overdose awareness month. And it was like, you were like, as you were aware, I was like, no, I never heard of it. Yeah. So that's why it's important for us to keep talking about this stuff and getting it out, because people assume that people know about stuff and
right,
they just don't.
Yeah.
And also that I wanted to briefly talk about drug court real fast too.
Yes.
Because we want to I talked to Mike at the event too. We're going to try to get him on here soon. But what is drug court?
Actually, he's the one that can explain that more to you. But what they do, in which I wish my boys weren't, my son didn't was not involved in the drug court. I don't even know if it was in the beginning stages. What it is they give these young people the opportunity to, instead of going to jail, it gives them an opportunity to, get back out there. They come and volunteer with us at the Flagler County Drug Court Foundation, and things like that. But if they follow through with their plan and they do what they're supposed to, some do, some violate their probation, and then we start the process all over. But they can get that expunged. And that's another thing. You might be able to get your charges expunged.
I've already had an expungement.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, because I was an actual drug dealer in my early 20s. So,
What?
Yeah.
No
What?
way.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I wasn't very nice, and I was.
I think you guys all were trying to be something back in the
I think a lot of people
doing
just
something stupid back then.
Yeah, and I'm talking when this is early 2000s, but I got arrested. Things worked out because
You guys are trying to be gangsters, and my son too. He ended up. In
Well,
jail.
it's like in the echelon that you grow. It's like there's different. Say Tucker Carlson. You know what I mean? That type of person is not. Things that when you're poor and just from a lower class are just more reasonable, and someone like that is oh, you guys do that, you're into this, that's stupid, and it is stupid, but you don't know any better at that time, and your parents know. And I'm not trying to fault my parents at all, because my mom had, when she was young, she got 6 kids, she didn't go to college, she's not from a rich family, they just didn't know. There was no internet, what you know. It's hard to visualize the 80s, the 70s, the 90s even, what you were exposed to, what you could know. And then gangster, it's that's what's prevalent, that's what was in the media at the time. That was the beginning of gangster rap.
Scarface.
I mean, I got my first job at a pizza place for $4 an hour, and then I got some weed, and then I sold it in a week, and I made more money than I would make in 2 weeks at the pizza place. And I was well, this is stupid going to work, and so, but that's in the short term, sure. Long term is ridiculous,
Right.
Because I eventually got it together. I went to college.
I'm just glad you guys, like I said, I'm just glad you guys got over that.
Yeah.
And are doing good, and that's what.
Yeah.
That's what's most important.
Well, that's what I like to try to talk about too, because I don't hide that I had screwed up before, or was not even the nicest person to begin with. And it's not that I wasn't the nicest person. I did bad things.
Right.
I didn't know any better. But you grow up and then you learn stuff, and it's good to show people that progression, not just act like, oh, I'm just so great now, even though I'm not. But in comparison,
this is why a lot of people who have been down that road, I keep telling my son, you need to think about, because he had talked one time about being a counselor, a drug counselor. Or I said, you should. They make the best. You've already been there. You've done that.
Yeah.
Go to school.
You can tell when someone's lying or relapsing, or
well, you can see through them because you've already,
Yeah, I mean,
you've already been there.
Yeah, you can't listen to somebody who's straight up upper middle class, never had any problems like
Exactly.
that, telling
Just
you what
say
you
no.
need to do.
Exactly.
And it's well, you don't know what I need to do, because you don't know, and you can't read it in a book.
Well, I can tell you right now, from my experience as a mom and going through everything I went through with my boys, each one's different. What works for this one may not work for this one. And what works for so each individual, it's your own individual plan or pathway to your recovery. So each one's different. Like I said, what works for one, because that's why I disagreed with some of the programs they had for parents, because that may have worked for your child, and it may have worked for this child, but that's wouldn't have worked for this child.
Yeah.
Especially if you know your children are suffering from depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder. Those things all need to be addressed. You can't just get off the
Because
the drugs. You got to address all.
Yeah, because the drug use.
It's about the whole health.
Yeah, because the drug use is just a symptom of the dysfunction.
Exactly.
And then if, unfortunately, you do build up these neural pathways in the when you do drugs, you get an extreme.
It takes 18 months for your brain to heal after going through
Yeah,
all
for
that.
sure.
So
Yeah, and then I find this like very interesting, like and like AA and NA and stuff like that. They said like you have to get like a higher power because you can't
Yes.
control this. But that's like an analogy, because we think in our cortex, but the cravings come from your midbrain and your limbic system, which you have minimal control over. So I remember like when I was doing it, I would be like, all right, don't do no drugs, don't do no drugs, don't do no drugs. And then sooner or later, you find a reason why it's okay. Well, I'm already dirty. And it's like, because you'll talk yourself into it because it's deeper in your brain, and just getting out of that. And it's really rough to change something that you can't control.
It takes a good 18 months. You can't just go to detox. You need more than a 30-day program. You need more than a 10-day program or 5 days. You need 18 months.
Well,
you need to stay in a positive environment. You need to get involved. They need to get involved with, organizations such as the Flagler County Drug Court Foundation. We invite the young people to come. And it's not just the good drug court participants. It's others too. Come and join in with us. Come do some of these activities with us. The more they stay around a positive environment, the better it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't go back to where you were at before, for sure, and do the same things. You have to learn how to make different decisions and not have the immediate gratification. So that's the rough part. It's the after.
And I know that another thing, sometimes people kind of, the people that are on, we have the people who are on medical assisted treatment, they have now meetings for those people. Because sometimes if you're on the medication and you go to a meeting, well, you're still using something. The way I look at it, if that's better in their life and they're alive today, I don't care if they're using a MAP program.
So you're saying like someone just being on long-term Suboxone or methadone or something like that? I can kind of agree with that. But I feel like sometimes people get in the trap and they get used to that. When I detoxed, I didn't do nothing for a month. And
what works for one,
okay, I got
not
that.
work for the other,
Yeah.
But I do think that they need to follow they don't need to stay on it forever. They need to start being weaned off of it.
Yes.
But I would rather see them on it than
getting risky things.
Dead.
I hear that.
I lost my son. And he really wasn't he wasn't really I was shocked when we got the results back. Let's put it that way. That blew my mind. I thought he died from a heart attack or natural causes. So it was a shock for me.
As a parent, talking to other parents, do you think there's any signs that maybe looking back, it might be like, your child might be using before you like obviously catch them or something? Like
this started so long ago.
Like they're like in their room a lot or something.
This started. Well, I'm trying to go back because they've been. Recovery was 2018 for a lot of people. A lot of people you might know, but a lot of them are now in the recovery field, actually helping others. So that was in 2018. I'm trying to think. they will get withdrawn. I think you have to, I'm sitting here going, when did this all start? I think it all starts, by the kids going down to the tea dock smoking some weed, and that's where it started. I think.
Just the patterns of starting
Yeah,
to
and then
change your
and
consciousness.
they were in, oh my gosh, I'm going to say high school, high school, that age, or junior high. I'm not too sure, but that's where it all started. But I tell these moms, talk to your teenagers, especially because these kids are dying younger and younger every year. Like I said, there was a 14-year-old that popped up on the website or the web page, a 14-year-old and a 13-year-old within the last, I'm going to say 3 weeks. So we have to talk to these kids. It's dangerous. It's not like it was when you guys were growing
It's
up.
not. And that's such a hard message because
I heard your show the other day about y'all talking about hiding in the woods over there off of Bird of Paradise.
Yeah.
he's the B-section guy.
We
Yeah.
definitely did that. And I definitely have a lot of friends who, because it's crazy looking back just at the life, when they say, oh, Florida was like, had a million pill mills going on back in like 2007, 2008. And then how you...
That was after the death of Randall Nuss. Remember Randall Nuss?
That sounds familiar.
He was like 18. He had gotten a hold of OxyContin. And his mom went, and a bunch of them, and fought to have what's the name of it? Purdue Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah,
Shut
Purdue.
down. Purdue or whatever.
Yeah, it was Purdue.
That was those moms fighting. They're the ones that got that done.
Yeah, and
That's when they started closing those all down. We're going back 2000.
And I would like have friends who,
way back.
you could you could go from one Walgreens to the next, to the next, to the next, and just keep on filling scripts.
and go to
stuff
different
like
doctors too, so you could do like this
Oh, yeah.
unlimited.
And
My son
so,
had done that back in the day, way back then.
like it's
It was
crazy.
terrible.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like I was 16 at the time. My friends were like 13, 14, all the way up to like 17. Like ecstasy was a big thing.
You can't mess with that here now either. It's
Yeah,
fake.
it's-
Everything's fake.
Yeah, and even went to Molly. Now the Molly's fake and stuff like that. But it's crazy, just how everybody got hooked back then.
Yep.
Like I see some of those people, and they're still doing their different
I
things.
was a
and stuff.
good mom. I was right there all the time. I didn't let them out of my sight, and it still happened to me.
Dang. That's scary.
It still happened to my boys.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did this happen? It happens. But I think that the more we talk and the more open communication and get out there, because a lot of times if they're on medication, and this really bothers me about this HEPA thing, and not wanting to talk to a parent when a parent reaches out for help, they need to change that. Because if you're on drugs, you are mentally not stable.
For sure.
And if a parent is reaching out to an organization, a clinic, please talk to the parents, because when you were using, you weren't capable of making decisions.
No.
No. My kids weren't.
When you're in that mind frame, the only decisions you're capable of making is what can I do to benefit me right now?
Oh,
in an easy way.
Well, like I said, I had battled for years trying to find help. Finally, I just got on the phone, picked the phone up, and I said, I'm an advocate for addicts, and I need a bed for this individual. Well, how old are they? I said, they're over the age of 18, and they're sitting right here with me. Give them permission to talk to me. They give them permission to talk to me. I take the phone back, call me, and I will locate them. I will find them. And these kids know I'll find them. I'll hunt you down like a bad dream. And I will drive them up and take them, wherever they need to go. And that's how it started. When I was calling, I'm trying to get help for my son. Doors kept slamming in my face. So Mama got mad.
And unfortunately, I find that too, like in the rehab world too, that's a real big money operation too, and a lot of private places that just
It
want to
could
like
be.
get your money. And 'cause
And
I went to the Salvation Army in Tampa, and it was free.
yeah.
You just have to work.
Okay.
You have to work there, and it's a 6-month program.
That
And
that was popular. They had one in Daytona. I
Yeah, they
think,
have
at
one.
one time. I think my son went to that.
yeah,
And my son went to a few. Boy, we don't even have a show going enough for me to tell you about some of the stories, and it's hilarious. There, some of them. I took him one time. I took my son down. We don't like to talk because he don't like his name to be mentioned. But anyway, I took my son down to Stuart Marchman. Okay, we had been trying to get him in. He wanted to go. And he's like, anyhow, to make a long story short, back then, in order to get him in, you had to test positive. So, of course, he had to go get something so he'd test positive when I took him down.
That's crazy.
So we take him down there. I know this is it. He's going to go on into Stuart Marchman. He goes in there. I get in my car. I come riding home. I grabbed me a 6-pack. I popped open a beer. I was celebrating, okay? I get a phone call. It's my son. Mom. I'm like, what? You got to come get me. I said, what are you talking about? I have to come get you. I just dropped you off. No, you have to come get me. I didn't test positive. I said, what do you mean you didn't test positive? So my younger son had to drive me down there to pick him up. Because when I called his father, he said, I can't go get him. I had a beer. I was like, okay.
Everybody's celebrating.
We're all celebrating, okay? So anyhow, we got in the car and we drove all the way down there. The very next day, I get a phone call. It's the Stuart Marchman. Oh, we have a bed available for your son. I'm like, we were just down there yesterday, and you sent him home. You said he didn't test positive. So anyhow, make a long story short, we had to call his dad, get some money so he could get medicine to go down there. And he was going to just put it in the pee. And when I started talking to the nurse and explained to her what had happened, she said, you don't have to worry about it. We'll keep him, and they went ahead and kept him. But, that's one of my taking him down.
Because I tried to stop before too. And like, I was like clean, but I was not physically dependent, but I did drugs again because there was no change in me. I was just off of drugs.
Right.
So for like when a rehab to do something like that, it's like
They
using
have
is
to
only
really
the first
want it.
part. Yeah.
And they have to really want it.
Yeah. You have to not be like that. Because I was never like that type of person anyway. So like when I noticed I'm like really like now I'm this type of person, it's like I hated that. That's not me.
Yeah.
So that was like motivation. But yeah, it's funny. Like when I still am friends with the guy now. You know him too. I don't want to say his name because he's a pretty successful guy now. But when I was in rehab with him, he was telling me the same story. Like he tried to go to detox. This is in Tampa, but he'd already detoxed himself. But he was still like right there. So his mom he's like, oh yeah, I have my mom. She dropped me off at the spot. He ran in and did what he had to do. Did it, and then went to the detox, and then detoxed out. Then came to the Sally.
And the thing is they shouldn't make you have to be.
And they should know.
If someone is wanting help, let them go in.
Exactly.
Give them the help.
Exactly.
So,
I
don't know if they're. I don't know if they. Like I said, it's been so long.
Yeah, and I would think that they would like know. Like you're just not going there just for fun. Obviously, I'm trying to get into the rehab because rehab's not fun.
No.
No. And it's not for the food.
No.
So.
But we definitely need better and more programs. Like I said, hopefully I'm working with this new organization up in Jacksonville in St. Johns County. It is for the whole state of Florida. So hopefully we'll be able to put our heads together and come up with a really good wraparound program is what we're shooting for.
What are you thinking about for like the back end? Like you've detoxed, you're starting to make the change. It's been like a year, but now you can't get a job. You can't get this. You can't
Well,
get that.
there, believe it or not, I do know a lot of places that will hire people in recovery. You know, they will electrical training. There's a lot of places that will give
No, I mean, I guess you guys are gonna try
Now,
to-
before my son had to leave this, he had to leave Flagler County because he didn't have any opportunities here. You know.
So you guys are going to try to incorporate something like that, of at least giving them information of the places that do. I know I've seen you post this stuff. You know, places to hire felons and
Right,
this and that.
and it's the same thing.
Yeah,
It's
and I think-
most of them are
Because that's what people get
felons,
down
you
on
know.
themselves also, and then like a lot of people preemptively discount themselves
And
because
then-
they feel guilty about
Right.
what's already happened. I can't work there. I'm a piece of shit or whatever.
Right.
You know, and it's
Well, the
like
Flagler County Drug Court Foundation also will help them go. We get that job source place. They will help them with resumes and things like that. So there's
that's over
opportunity
like
there.
on 100, right? Mm-hmm. I think I popped in there before. I think
Yeah.
I
like
believe
when
it's across from FEC.
Right.
yeah, yep, it is.
So, but yeah, a lot of places will give them opportunities.
That's good. You just got to get that information out. And this is
Even
like
the
such-
lawn and landscaping businesses,
yeah. There's always like starting your own thing.
that's
Yeah.
that's what my boys do.
We try to do a lot of our own thing too. Even though I do have a regular job.
I'm coughing this morning. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, how do you feel just about the state of Flagler County in general? Like, I would consider like Daytona kind of like an 8 or a 9. Like, it's kind of bad. You know what I mean? Just on like drug uses and stuff. I might say Palm Coast is like a 4 or a 5.
Well, they said we had the highest overdose rate
Wow.
in Flagler County
Really?
recently. I don't remember who I was talking to, but we have a high that and also suicide rate in Flagler County. Believe it or not.
I believe we do have a high suicide rate.
So that means our mental health issues need to be addressed. We need mental health, substance use.
I feel like this new like society that we live in isn't very natural. And like how you're supposed to act and this and that really kind of puts people in this.
I might need another water.
Yeah.
Okay.
We became prepared.
I got a tickle in my throat.
It's just like such an unanswerable question. It's such a challenge. And now with the fentanyl, like people aren't getting the second chance because it takes one time and you could be done.
Well, that's the
And
whole
it's just
thing.
like,
On part of the flyer that I pass out, it's our children should learn from their mistakes, not die.
That's true.
yeah.
And when they say one pill will kill, a half pill can kill.
Definitely.
And everybody's talking about these fentanyl strips to test strips. Fentanyl's like chocolate chips in a cookie. It might have one here, but you won't have one here.
I thought about that too before.
So I don't think they're that safe either, doing the strips.
Now the strips
Oh, sorry about that.
are like test strips.
Yeah, they're like little test strips.
Yeah, you could test your drugs now to make sure
Oh, really?
there's fentanyl in it. Yeah, a lot of people in California are doing that. They're like giving celebrities like
But it's like a
test-
cookie,
testing the cocaine.
A chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah, you only need a couple
This
grains of
piece
it.
might have it, but then this area might not.
I thought about that too before. Like, say, like you're like not a middleman, but a drug dealer who's actually doing the bagging up and whatnot. And you get this package and you cut it up, and you put it in your baggies. That one scoop that might have not got mixed up in the corner, that's that bad scoop. And whoever gets that,
I think this stuff's coming from China already pre-made. I really think it's already, to look
Fentanyl's already
just like real pills.
and but isn't there like? Well, I know that there's like the fentanyl that they use in the hospital and stuff. It's not the same fentanyl as the street fentanyl. Like,
Hold on. No, it's. Oops, hold on. I got something. I have like a little on my glasses. I'm like, I see like a blurry spot.
But then they have the fentanyl, but then they also have like another stronger fentanyl. Like I can't remember the name right now, and because we saw that footage of that cop.
It's a horse tranquilizer. Or
Yes,
elephant
something like that.
tranquilizer?
Yeah, but that one cop who touched it, we saw that video from the sheriff's department, and,
And that's what happens in a lot of cases too. You've got, you can have a regular drug user who uses every day can probably handle the fentanyl. But when you take someone and they clean themselves up, they're clean, they haven't used, they're taking really good care of their body, and just take it one time and it can kill them.
That's
Right.
definitely what happens for sure.
Or people who like
I think that what's happened to my son, and that's what happened to Tony.
Because you're like, okay, it's only a little bit, and you're used to taking that all the time,
Yeah,
but maybe
yeah,
even more,
that's it,
and
yeah.
and
people would like get off it, then use the same amount that they did before. I've heard the same thing with alcoholics.
yeah, but same with the fentanyl though. It doesn't have to even be the same amount. It could be one
Just a
sniff, and
little
even
bit.
if you shoot, whatever, that's even worse.
Now, yeah, it's we had a camera in my house, so I know my son did not. He took a pill that day. Because if you would have shot up the amount of fentanyl he had, he would have fell right on the floor. It was enough to kill herd elephants.
Dang,
33 ng.
dang.
And they're saying 2 grains of sand can kill a 250-pound man, or 2 ngs.
Of the
So,
stronger
of that
fentanyl.
fentanyl.
Yeah.
Of fentanyl, period, But what happens is the cleaner your system is, the easier it's going, where if your system, you're used to, that's why everybody think, and it really bothers me because everybody thinks, oh, your kid overdosed. He was a druggie. No, that's not how it has been happening. These people that are on the website that have overdosed were not junkies. They were college students. They were high school.
But you know what? They're junkies are people too. They're sick, sad people, and nobody likes being a junkie. It's not fun.
That's why it's
It's not like I'm choosing to be this. Like, you are sick, and a lot of
And
people.
it does. It bothers people when they're referred to like that.
Meanwhile, you're over there drinking like wine every day, 2 bottles,
Exactly.
and like
being too
this,
yes.
these junkies over here, or you're doing the same. It's
And that's why whenever I say that we need a whole health, mental health, substance use go hand in hand. Healing is recovery. Recovery is healing. It's important.
it is.
And not feeling isolated. I think the more we, how do I want to put it, bring them to opportunities, events, the isolation, when someone starts isolating themselves,
Yeah.
that's not good.
It's not.
They did
They-
I don't know if you saw that, I think it was over in England or somewhere. They did a test with mice and drug water.
I've heard of it.
remember that?
Yeah, I have
You
heard
put
of
the
it.
mouse all by himself, and he tended to drink the drug water.
Yeah.
You put him in a nice place with a bunch of friends, and they got to eat all whatever they want to eat, and they had a social life.
Yeah, that
They
was like
tend
a-
to go to the regular water.
Yeah, because they had that experiment at first where they just had like the little beaker, and the mice could just go hit the cocaine, hit the cocaine, hit the cocaine, and they kept doing that. And then some guy eventually was like, "Well, wait a minute,
Let's see.
they have nothing else to do in there. It's just a mice in a
Exactly.
cage with the water."
So
Of
the
course,
isolation.
yeah, they put a hamster wheel in, they put a couple in there, and then like it was a huge number of the mice were like, "Nah, I don't
They
want the
didn't
cocaine
want it,
water." Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that study.
But at the same time, it's cocaine water. They're like, what? I don't know what's going on.
But yeah, I mean that's hard because there's still life going on every day too. And like everybody like when Stickworm came over, I don't know if you know him as Stickworm, Tony, his name is Stickworm also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because on Thanksgiving he was like, "Oh, does anybody want to have me over?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure," And he came over, but like we texted about a little bit earlier, like. He just felt. I don't want to like say how he felt, but what I saw on his face was because he grew up with all of us, my sisters,
Right.
my mom, my stepdad, and he was just like,
Was he at your house all the time, hanging out?
well,
No.
before in like the early
When he was
2000s,
kids,
in the
yeah.
early 2000s and stuff, yeah, for sure. And when he was like working with my stepdad, he was always over there. Everybody hung out with everybody. And then just to see him there, and he was like so shell shocked, and like he had his dog with him, and he just my brother's like, oh, I'm doing great selling cars. My sister's like, I'm doing this and that, and Tony's like, I'm getting by, and it was just like, and we tried to interact, but it's just like it's hard, like you feel bad, you want to say something, but like, what do you say? And like
I said, I had talked to him, and I would talk to him. I was like a mentor to him. I'd reach out to him if I'd see he posted something that, oh, he looks like he's a little down today. So I'll reach out to him. Hey, how are you doing? And
John, remember I was telling you the guy who wanted to do the segment where he does the construction reviews? That's the dude that we're talking about. Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because he reached out to me also, too, because when we started doing the show, he was like, oh, I got an idea for a show. And he wanted to go around and do, like, construction reviews. So
He was, I mean, it breaks my heart that this had to have happened. But like I said, if you haven't been using for a while, because he when they're cleaner and they haven't, and then they do use, it's usually fatal,
What do you think about people when they say like it's never over? Like the battle's never over. It might be like, say they're like clean for 10 years.
like, once the addict, always the addict?
Yeah,
Or like that
that's
monkey
not-
is the shadows, the demons are always there.
That's why you have to heal what's here. That's what the mental health so important.
See, I don't know if I guess, not everybody's the same.
Well, it's not.
But for me now, at this point, like, I don't see any situation that's going to be like, I just got to go do it, but it's been so long.
Like that's not your escape anymore.
No, like, not at all. I mean, it wasn't for a while, and what helped me a lot too, for the first few years, I mean, I smoked a lot of weed until I got more better.
I've actually seen
You know what I mean?
the medical marijuana help people.
Yeah, like people call it like
You know?
California sober. California sober.
I had a friend who she was sick for 20-something years. She couldn't get out of bed. She had needed help from her husband. She was miserable. She just told me once, she goes, Tressie, I just want to die. I don't want to live like this. And I said, have you ever tried the medical marijuana? She's like, well, my doctor wants me to, but I don't like that. I don't want it, she didn't want anything to do with it. And that was like, it was in November one year. Yeah, it was in November a year or so ago. Anyhow, I had to call her after my son passed away to let her know, what was going on. And I said, by the way, did you ever go to the doctor about... She goes, oh my God, yes. She said, you won't believe this. She goes, I'm out riding my bicycle. Now I see her going to lunch. She's doing all of this stuff.
Awesome.
She is down to one medication and then that. And I have seen it work miracles, So if I don't do it, but,
I like to go back to...
I believe in it. I've seen it help people.
I think it's good too. And I like to always refer back to the first step, is that your life became unmanageable. So if you smoke a little weed, but your life is manageable,
Exactly.
then you're doing good.
I hate to say this, kids with ADHD, I think that medical marijuana helps it.
And it's got to be better than the meth that they're giving them now.
Exactly. I always knew that my son had done something, because my son was real hyper. And I always knew that he had smoked weed or something when he was in high school, because he'd act normal. I'm like, he wouldn't be aggravating his brothers. I'm like, whoa, you've been smoking weed. I can tell.
Hilarious.
But that's the only reason I said, man, I think it helps people with ADHD. So, because it makes them normal.
I feel like it's not bad. And like you even said like a second ago, like with people being on like the Suboxones for like long term. And this is kind of like a double-edged sword too, because
Well, I
for
know a
kids
very
in that-
successful person who, because I talked to him when I first, one of my sons got into, or is on the MAP program, and I had talked to this man. This man's my age, maybe a little bit younger. Well, a little bit younger than me. And I said, how long do you have to stay on this stuff? He said, I've been on it for 10 years. He said, I am a successful manager at a place. You know, he ran the place. He said, I'm the father of 4 kids. He goes, I have to stay on this. I was such a bad drug addict that if I get off of this, I will lose everything.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
So
like,
I think it, you know, and it's just like with the medical marijuana. If you're not running around here getting high or looking high, and you're functioning and you're working a 40-hour-a-week job, and you know what I mean? You're functioning.
yeah,
And
life's manageable.
exactly.
Yeah.
Some people need it.
For real, definitely.
You know.
I mean, I hear that it's crazy. Like the double-edged sword is that it's so risky with all this like fake fentanyl, so people can't even experiment. But at the same time, total abstinence is just not realistic or feasible
Right.
on a long term because people are people. So I feel like a lot of times, like even in rehabs and stuff too, if like say you mess up and they kick you out of the
Oh
rehab,
yeah, and
it's
I
like-
think that's ridiculous.
it's ridiculous.
Because
Of course I'm
as
gonna mess
long as
up.
they're not doing their drug of choice, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I know I can't drink wine. I'll drink the whole bottle. That's not good. I stay away. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Or, you know what I'm trying to say. I don't think they need to go to that extreme. And how do I want to put this? Or categorize people, you know, because my son is on medical marijuana, and he works 40 hours a week. He's working now, as a matter of fact.
yeah. I
It's
don't,
possible. I have my medical
My
card.
youngest, yeah, my youngest, and it actually helped him with his. He has severe anxiety. They're treating him for post-traumatic stress disorder. So,
Yeah, he's
and
got-
I've watched people. I mean, he doesn't have to do it all the time.
Right.
He does it when he needs to. His anxiety's up. His blood pressure shoots up. He, you know,
yeah. Well, I mean,
he's. It's not like he's not just going and doing it and just to
eating
be high.
chips and eating chips and watching TV. Yeah.
Just like after a long hard day, because like my Ivy having
He has a
back
certain,
inflammation.
Yeah,
and
he has a
stuff.
certain kind for his to sleep, and then
Definitely. So we really appreciate you coming in here. Before we do leave, I'd like for you to remind people about the events coming up and possibly where they can find you on social media.
oh boy, you can if you go to the Flagler County Drug Court Foundation, we have been posting flyers for the up and coming event in October, and I believe it's going to be October the 14th. Is that when it is? Yep, there, October the 14th. We'll have a pig roast, the axe throwing, the paintball, and it's a vendor's fair. If you want to participate and maybe set up a booth or something out there, reach out to Mike Faulbauer.
Okay.
And his number's 401-864-6997. You know, if you want to, you know, set up a booth, I think the price is pretty reasonable if you want to go out and do that.
Awesome.
Then let's see. I'm trying to think of what else we have going on. There's something going on at the town center, but I'm not too sure. But this is our main event. Now they are going to have not our organization, but another organization will be having a music fest, which we will also be there. Now, can you post that?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to post it.
Oh,
Actually.
okay,
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
You got the flyer.
Yeah.
And they'll be having,
Awesome.
on the 16th, they'll be having a music fest over here at Veterans Park.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we'll be there passing out stuff.
Yeah, I don't have that flyer. I haven't seen that yet. Because I have that because I'm going around. I'm starting to like get all these different events that are happening. I want to do like a separate Flagler Weekly segment where we just talk about.
The events.
And instead of just like, you know, people like post photos. And like I said, we're the only people who really make videos. So I wanted to make a video of talking about each person's flyer and maybe
Right.
have the flyer on while I'm just mentioning it.
There
And
you
then
go.
post that like bi-weekly on Flagler Weekly just to keep people,
See, that'll be good too.
yeah,
You know.
because everybody just
Good job,
posts.
Dave.
Yeah, we got to do something different to reach more people because everybody just makes flyers, and it's not. I'm not saying that it's not effective, but I think we could be more effective by having like a hub. And then when I missed
Yeah.
your event of the thing, I said to John, I was like,
I didn't even think
because
to
we're
tell
in a
you
lot of
guys
groups,
about
and like
that.
I didn't know about it because I didn't see it.
As much as I posted it,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it just didn't in my algorithm or what. And I know that we're in some of the same groups, and I just it just passed me. And that's when I first had the idea that like we need to have more of a hub, so
We've been
everybody.
talking about that for a while.
Yeah.
or you'll get an event will pop up from the event thing. They have an event thing, I think, on Facebook, or it'll pop up, and at the last minute, and you're like, "Wow, I would have gone to that if I'd have known about it." You know,
Yeah.
because there's been a few things that I'm like, "Wow, if I would have known about this, I would have gone."
Yeah, and that's why I want to work on that
I
for
agree.
sure. I was even thinking about having my sister come and do the segment actually, because she's a salesperson and better on camera probably.
There you go. And I gotta bring Tubby. I have Tubby in training. My dog that my son Wayne gave me. He wandered up to followed some people in recovery back to their sober living. And my son calls and said, "Hey, Mom, you want to come get this dog? He's really cool." I'm like, "I'm not ready for another dog." Well, guess where Tubby is? He's with me. And
Sleeping on
I'm
the bed.
going to try and have him get him trained. He's in training so that he can be an emotional support dog for people in recovery, and I can take him to meetings. I took him up there last night to visit all his friends, and it was he just ran up there. He was so happy. He was wagging all over.
That's fine.
He's like 55 pounds now.
Did you say that that's in Jacksonville where this sober living
where
house is at?
where he
No.
that I went and picked him up. He was at the Alco House. It's in Jacksonville. That's where they're really good up there.
Yeah.
So that was the person or the group that helped my son the most.
Alco House.
Alco House. So
Awesome.
they're good people up there, and like I said, I'm going to be. They're the ones that gave me. They're the ones who gave me Tubby. So it can't. He followed them back to there, and they couldn't keep him. And so my son's like, "Hey, they got this really cool dog over here. You want to come get it?" So I went and picked him up, and like I said, I posted him. Nobody claimed him. So I took him, and
Hey.
he's mine now. So got him neutered. I got him, treated for
All that stuff.
all
You're invested.
everything.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you
Well, thank
joining our podcast, getting this information out to the people. Definitely important information that a lot of people need to know.
And if people need to get a hold of me, I'm usually pretty easy to get a hold of. On Facebook, Tressie DuPont Paytas.
Okay.
They can reach out to me. And like I said, I do have some things in the works for this, the Hep C program and HIV and Hep C testing. And they will be offering free treatment.
Okay.
So I'll let you know when we get that work.
Free Hep C
too.
treatment.
Definitely.
Yes, because most of the people that have used drugs with needles
Yeah.
need to be checked.
Yeah.
And even as, I hate to say this, if you're a parent and you have been cleaning up after your individual and have been stuck with one of those needles, you might want to be tested as well.
Yeah.
Even like,
Just to be on
with
the
Hep C
safe
too, I mean, that could be on razors or all
That's
kinds of stuff
true.
around your house. Like that's like a pretty spreadable
Yeah.
with the blood. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm
All right.
working on that too. So,
Awesome.
but thank you guys.
Well, you can come back, and then when you are
Okay.
done, and we can talk about that as well.
Heck yeah.
Everybody, also, I would like to give a shout out to our sponsor for everybody who's still listening. We would like to shout out to Pickle Place and Vet Adventures. We appreciate you, everybody, if you could follow them, I'm going to tag them in the description. And he's a great follow, very inspirational. So we really appreciate everybody who's been following with us this whole time. And this is Flagler Weekly, episode 25.
See you guys later.
Thanks.